Okay, here we are. Welcome out. Let's get into it. Grades are not the end all and the cure all. They can be inflated, they can be curved, they can be arbitrary and subjective, but they're all you've got. So do your best to get good grades. We're all in college. That's your job, right? Anybody in college, that's your job. Your job, you're not going to be paid in dollars, you're going to be paid in grades, right? So how can you improve upon that job? Number one, let's get into the nitty-gritty. I was just talking about this the other day. I've read a lot of these lists, how to do better in college, how to get grades, how to test better, what to do, as an incoming freshman, what to do as a sophomore, what to do as a junior, senior, blah, 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 and so forth. And a lot of the lists, they're good, but they're just not good enough. They're not as deep and as thorough as they need to be. The deeper you are and the more thorough you are, the better the employee you will be. Therefore, that's why, employers want you to be deep and thorough. Practice it now. Practice it before college, during college, and after college so that you acquire those skills, right? We've got skills, knowledge, and attitudes so that you acquire those skills that are essential in the workplace, right? You've got to develop those skills. So really going deep, doing the job thorough, vigorous, rigorous, right? Not just kind of meh, 50, 60%, 70%. Don't go 100%. Don't go 200%. Go ballistic, go crazy, go nuts, right? You're the one that they'll keep on. You're the one that they'll promote. You're the one that they'll think about next time there's a new position opening up or something more challenging or interesting or better paying. So anyways, let's get into it. 40 to 60% of incoming college freshmen are placed in remedial classes, such as for math and English. Those are the standards. This also means that most students haven't learned how to study or learn. And that's probably why they haven't done well in math and science and they're in a remedial state. 40 to 60%, half, at least, I'd say at least half. You average that out, right? Go right in the middle. Go for the mean. Remember, your mean, median, and mode. I'm sorry, go for your median, right? The middle number. 50, let's go for 50%, right? 50%. What are they doing in high school? If you graduate high school, 50% graduating high school don't even have the basics that are needed for basic math and English. What's going on, right? Maybe not all 12 years, but at least those last 4 years, or I'll say 6 years, right? Junior high up on through to graduation. What's going on? Why the failure, right? Out of 40 countries, United States, our education system is 40th. And guess what? We spend more money per student than any other country in the world. Yet out of 40 countries, we come in 40th. Ah, boy, what's going on? So that's why I'm saying you got to take the bull by the horns. You're already behind the 8 ball. You're already behind. So you not only have to get into college and do the work, you have to catch up probably. There's even a lot of catching up to do, right? Nobody wants to talk about that. No, it's better just not to talk about it, and let people believe that everything's fine. And then they graduate from college and they don't get a job or they don't get what they want. And they find that they're 30 years old and they're not where they want to be. And they haven't gotten anything close to what they thought they should have by the time they're 30. And how do I know? Well, I've been there and this is why I'm doing what I've done or what I'm doing, right? I had to do a lot of catching up, a lot. Some of that was just because of the inept system or systems that I went through that most people in the United States go through. But also some of it was personal issues and difficulties and challenges. So there was a lot. I had to work very, very, very hard to catch up to snuff, to get to a point where I was, never mind exceptional, but just functional, right? And I've also heard some statistics on that 70% of families are dysfunctional, right? Not functioning at optimum capacity. I don't know how true that is, but you can think about it yourself. Think about the people that you know and how many families you've encountered over the years. Anyways, I know mine was dysfunctional for sure. Uh, so most students haven't learned how to study or learn yet. You need to get help, right? And if you don't do that, that's probably part of the reason why 50% don't graduate from college. Any given year, there are a bunch of people going off to college. Any given year, 50% who were supposed to graduate that year are not graduating, right? They've dropped out already. Maybe freshman year, sophomore year, but definitely by junior year, right? They're gone. So don't be a part of that waste, right? And you need to learn how to learn. You're sent off to school. Here's school. Now learn, get good grades. Who's helping you to understand how to do that, right? What's my motivation? You hear actors do that all the time. Students should do that. What's my motivation? Why do I need to learn this math, this science, this history, right? What's the point? There's probably few teachers or very little discussion in that area or those areas about motivation as to why. I can tell you why. I have the answers, right? And I've given you many of them over the numerous videos that I've done, right? So you have to learn how to study. You have to get motivated. Why do I have to learn this stuff? How is it going to apply? How am I going to use it on the job? Maybe it's not just the job. Maybe I'm going to be able to use this stuff in my personal life to think better, to act better, to be more ethical and moral and alive and motivated and interesting and helpful and compassionate and blah, 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 and so forth and so on, right? There's a lot going on. Number two, you may have a syllabus, but your professor is your guide for the course. She will tell you what you have to study, when, and how it will be tested. You must come to class, pay attention, and take good notes. The last one is critical. Notes. Most people don't know how to take notes, right? Let's get into three. That's the details. More on notes. The key to taking notes is don't write everything down and avoid complete sentences. You'll be dead by the end of the first class, right? It's just like those students that, or similar to, I should say, students that use a highlighter and they highlight pretty much everything on the page except for a couple sentences. You don't know what you're doing. You have no clue. What you should be doing is underlining the main point, circling any keywords and phrases that appear that are related to the main point, which is usually expressed in the thesis or the topic sentence or the opening sentences of a section. You should also, if you have any questions, circling certain ideas or concepts or phrases or dates or whatever. And I don't know, what does that mean? What is that? I have to look that up. And so much more, there's so much more. You should be using a key, meaning that there are certain things, maybe a circle means one thing, double underline means something else, triple underline means something else. If you cross it out, it means this. If you put a square around, it means this, right? That's how you really engage with the text, not just highlight everything. I don't know what that means. Everything is important in that on that page that you've highlighted 90% of. No, I can tell you it's not. Anyways, I could go on and on, but let's not make this a 3-hour long video. More on note taking. It may be difficult, but here is where you're going to earnestly work on your listening skills, an important workplace skill for sure. Listen for keywords and phrases, worry about the details later. Details are usually developmental via examples, details, data, and narrative, right? So you're just looking for the main points. We'll say an essay, for example, or a short paragraph or a short chapter. Usually the main point is expressed somewhere in the first paragraph or two, sometimes in a overt thesis or sometimes in a less obvious or overt thesis. And then the majority of the rest of the chapter is trying to develop or restate, re-examine, re-express that idea through different means. I'm going to give you a story to help you understand that, a little anecdote or a little story to help you understand the main point. I'm going to give you some statistics to understand that main point. I'm going to give you some expert testimonies to understand that main point, and so forth and so on, right? So you've really got to be able to listen to the teacher and not write down most of what the teacher is saying, just the main points, right? And then later on, you can go over your notes and flesh things out, flesh things out, right? Number 5, some will tell you to study well, study hard, but what does that mean, right? Remember your motivation. Without it, you're sunk. There's little chance you'll make 4 years without a deeper, more substantial reason to study other than go get them, Tiger. Study well, work hard. What does that mean? What if I'm not motivated? Then that means nothing. I'm not going to study well and work hard because I'm not motivated. I have no reason to study well or work hard, right? What's my motivation? Well, you got to get motivated. You got to find a motivation. There's another reason why most, or half, I should say, probably getting towards most anyways, half of students who go off to college do not graduate, right? What's my motivation? Just to get a degree? Just because my parents said so? Just because my sister and brother went? Because my president said to get a college degree? Everybody needs a degree according to President of the United States. No, that's not good enough. You intrinsically inside must really know why you're getting that degree, what it is that you're learning, what you need to learn in order to do what it is that you want to do, you need to do. Once you get out of college or once you get out of study mode into apply mode in the workforce, you got to get all that down, and so forth and so on, and et cetera, et cetera. Okay? Number 6, find out not only what's going to be on the test, but how the professor's tests work. Once I discovered this tip, my grades soared. Not doing this is like being asked to get somewhere without a roadmap, right? Most students just work blind, right? They don't know how to write. They don't know how to write essays. They don't know why they're writing essays. They don't use essays as a major learning opportunity to research and explore and understand and delve into things and really do some cross-referencing and motivation and find things of interest and stuff that's stimulating, that's going to get you excited. And if you're excited, then your teacher's probably going to be excited. And we'll see some excitement in your writing, and you'll do better with a grade. It's not just a functional exercise, It's not just another student going through the motions, ho hum, blah, 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 boring, right? And believe me, teachers read enough papers that if it's not interesting or well done or well executed, you're going to put the teacher to sleep. It's going to be difficult, if not impossible, for them to stay awake or at least stay engaged long enough to read the whole paper. And sometimes most teachers will get the idea. It's a 5-page paper. They get to page 3 and they realize that this student is just, lost it. There's no focus here. It's not coherent. There's no energy. There's no reason even to continue to read on, and they won't finish it, right? And they'll give you a grade based on what they've read in those first 3 pages. Anyways, but there's so much here I could really go into in much more detail, but we don't have time. This is not going to be a 3, 4, 5, or 10-hour video. So let's get into it. Let's continue. Number 7, just like in applying for a job, stick to responding to how you fit the requirements. So for a test, stick to the questions asked. Don't wander. This is where your writing skills or that which you learned in freshman composition come into play. When you're dealing with short and long answer responses, right? That's another issue, keeping your head in the game, that it's work. coming to class, listening to everything or most everything the teacher has to say, taking notes, really understanding. If you don't understand, ask questions, jot down the main points, any additional insights that the teacher is giving you, maybe a test time has changed, or maybe what's going to be covered on the test has changed, or whatever, right? So you really got to be awake and engaged in class. And then, understand the teacher's methodologies for testing. And that could be, a test, multiple choice test, short answer test, or maybe a test via an essay or a written test, right? You got to get as much information as you can get. I can't think of everything right now off the cuff, but I'll tell you, if you start asking questions and you get in that questioning mode, that research mode, that mode of inquiry, you're like a FBI agent, right? You're looking for insights, right? You get into that mindset, and eventually it's just going to become a natural, instinctful way of thinking, and the questions will come to you, without having to be prompted or fed the questions, right? Number 8. So why all this testing, essaying, and homework? It's all about the bottom line, learning what you need to know to pass the class and potentially build a cumulative overall understanding of the courses and ultimately curriculum. Again, you're not just taking classes mindlessly, right? There's where that engagement occurs and those questions, asking questions come into play. You're constantly working on forming an overall bigger picture, one that applies to career and life. See how it expands out? And if you really make things significant and important to your experience and how you can use everything that you're doing in college, even learning how to study or learning how to communicate or learning how to get the job done or learning how to be on time or learning how to pay attention in class or learning how to be engaged and stay engaged, right? All that stuff comes into play. And all those skills, the good things, right, of merit, will eventually pay off in the long run, right? Not just in classwork and grades, but also in the workforce, and maybe at home, and maybe in the community and your life in general, right? Excuse me. Finally, grades are more important than you think. As you move forward and work to get better, best grades, you will hopefully begin to achieve them. And as you do, the feedback, the feeling of accomplishment will be invigorating and encouraging. Personally, when I finished my bachelor's degree, I had never before felt such a sense of accomplishment. And when I obtained my master's, the feeling improved tenfold. Outside of my marriage and children, there is little else that can compete for the sense of accomplishment and fulfillment I felt obtaining my higher education. Good luck, enjoy, and prosper. So here's my little motivation to you, right? I've been there. I've been through the grind. I've been through the system. I've been there and I've come out the other end, not only undergrad, but graduate degrees, right? So there is something to be said for that time and effort that you put into obtaining your education, right? And that's about that right there is just another good reason why you probably want to obtain your education. And that's it for now. So we'll see you in the next list. Take care and have a good one.